Hi, I'm Joe Tong with InstructionalFitness.com. Today we're in the Mecca of Bodybuilding at Gold's Gym here in Venice Beach, and with me I have Daniel Puder, right? Actually, Daniel is a MMA fighter. You're 27 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've been doing it since 16, you said?
Yeah.
At what point did you actually realize that this is what you wanted to do? Or when you first started off, did they have MMA back then, or did they just have the different martial arts and so forth?
You know, I started with Frank Shamrock when I was 16 at American Kickboxing Academy under Javier Mendez and Bob Cook. And Frank was actually about 6 months after I started with him, he fought Tito Ortiz for the light heavyweight belt for the UFC.
Okay.
And so it was, you know, it wasn't big like it.
Just starting.
Yeah. It was getting there. And then there's a drop off, you know, and I just loved getting beat down. And he said if I kept with it, I could, you know, become the champ.
I think at that level, personally, I couldn't do it. I mean, I don't like getting hit. But where you're at, how much of it is a mind game as far as your mind has to be so sharp and so focused to be able to go through that and, you know, get your butt kicked, you know, and still keep coming back, you know, and sometimes coming back on top. You think a majority of it is mental, or is it?
Yeah, I definitely think mentally you have to be there. You have to be relaxed. You see a lot of guys go into the cage and they're like just amped up. And and then they go out there, they either knock the dude out or they burn their wad too quick. So, you know, I've learned to really relax a couple days before and just calm down, stretch out a lot, do a little bit of cardio to keep my, you know, my lungs open. But it's definitely a relaxing game.
How do you get to become relaxed? I mean, I know it's all the training you're going through day after day. Is that all it is? Is just being trained and hit over and over that you learn just to kind of adapt to it and just take it and just keep focused on what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, your main goal is to, you know, get through all the rounds. If you can, you knock them out, you submit them, you catch them. But if you don't, you have to go all the rounds. So you have to figure out, okay, you know, if I have to go 15 minutes, how am I going to go 15 minutes, you know, without getting burnt out? And a lot of guys, you see them, they get toasted. One of my fights, you know, the guy was on top of me for the first 5 minute round, first 5 minutes. And, you know, I was just ducking and weaving. I double armbarred the guy. He picked me straight off the ground and slammed me. Like, the guy was so strong, it was retarded. And then I key locked him. I almost snapped his arm. And, you know, he got out of it because he was so freaking strong. But I came out second round. I double legged him, took him down, got his back, and he was gassed. Is because he spent so much. It's like the rope-a-dope thing, you know? I mean, you let him punch you, let him hit you. And, you know, on the ground, you can see what's going on and you can go back and forth and you can really control, you know, how he punches, how he moves, where he goes. So, you know, Frank Shamrock used to let guys take him down and he'd just sit there and let him get tired. It's a perfect, you know, some boxers used to do it too. They sit in the corner, let the guy hit you for a round.
So that's where you're learning from is those type of situations and that's what you practice.
Yeah.
And you give me a list to say like the top 4 that you'd really want to be really well at going into a fight that you think most people should really focus on.
Well, they definitely have to know wrestling. You know, you have to know position control and you know.
Sorry, like when you say wrestling, when it first was getting going, everything, it wasn't going to the ground a lot though, right? In the very beginning, it was more stand up.
Well, it was one or the other. Like the Gracies would come in and they'd just armbar the guys or whatever, and then the boxers, you know, one boxer even came in with boxing gloves. You know, it's like, come on, dude. Like,
so now it's a lot more diverse then.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, now you have to know the main 4, probably wrestling, kickboxing, Thai boxing, which is like knees and elbows, and submission or jiu-jitsu. It's same thing, gi or gi-less. Right. You know, so you have to know those 4 things.
Now with the sport, just not specifically, but say someone just coming into it, how much time does someone usually, I mean, it all depends on genetics, amount of training and everything, I know, but before somebody's usually ready to start fighting and everything, what type of training length of time are we talking about?
I'd say, you know, depending on if they were an athlete, like you know, a D1, let's say college athlete, a pro athlete before, or if they weren't, you know, 6 months to, you know, a year before they could have their first, you know, bout type deal. Right. And, you know, you start off with amateur stuff and you start, you know, you got to build your fighters, you know, you got to give them a lot of, you got to throw them against guys that, you know, you can build them with. So
do you think it's good to always push them against somebody that's a little bit better to keep them challenged?
In training, yes. They need to get beat down. If you're not getting beat down in training, you know, when they have fights and everything, I think you need to match them properly.
Right.
You know, you don't want to throw a guy who's 1-0 against a guy who's had 20, 30 fights.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's going to kill a guy who's 1-0 mentally. And, you see some guys that are, tougher than hell, like Andre Arlovski. I mean, he was a champ, he gets knocked out and then he loses it mentally.
Okay.
That he has a week, that he can get knocked out. So, after that,
it's hard to build
his last fight, I watched him and he was just watching it out. He didn't want to get hit. And then you want to hit him because he doesn't want to get hit. So, it really throws a loop in your game. If mentally you're thinking about, hey, I don't want to get knocked out. I just want to take the guy down.
Right.
You can't worry about that.
With the sport of bodybuilding, okay, you diet for say 3 or 4 months for a show to get in shape, and then you have your off-season training. So a good top pro bodybuilder can pretty much compete year-round. Okay, they have the size where they need to be. An amateur, we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 times a year because you're still trying to develop and get to that level. Now, with fighting, how many matches a year would you personally think would be a good number?
I think 4 every 3 months is good.
Yeah.
I have a 2-month training, out for my fights. So,
okay.
I'll work into it for 2 weeks and then I'll do 6 weeks hard.
When you say work into it, give me an example. Say we just finished a fight yesterday. Now, would you take a certain amount of time off?
Yeah. So I'll take like a month off, kind of going into the gym, messing around, this and that, and just, kind of relaxing type deal for a month. And then, I'll take 2 weeks and start building back up to where I was. And then I'll take 6 weeks. It's actually about 5.5 weeks. Okay. And I'll train real hard. And then for the last few days, I'll just taper off type deal.
Right.
What
do you go in at weight-wise?
About 225 to 230. Okay. So I'm about 230, 235 right now.
Right.
So usually I get up a little bit bigger. I'll eat a little bit more when I train, just so I'll keep on a little bit of weight. And then the weight just comes off because I do so much cardio.
So you don't specifically diet to bring it down. It's just the amount of training you're doing.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah, I try to keep the weight on because of how much training, Then with, I do plyometrics. So we do a lot of sandbag stuff, going from side to side, doing explosion, plyometrics with jumping, all that stuff. And that's really my, with core training, medicine ball stuff. That's all I do with weights. And it's, it's real simple. We have a tire that we toss now, just basic stuff where if I go in and I pump a lot of weights, I get too stiff.
Does it slow you
and
down?
Then it really slows me down. Now it's just, it's all relaxed and, I stretch out a lot. The big stretching.
I'm sure a lot of other people are going to want to know another key thing. You kind of mentioned it briefly though, is about diet.
Yeah.
Now, even though you don't diet specifically, do you pretty much eat pretty well year round, or what's that like?
Yeah, I try to, when I'm training full time, I try to, no sodas, no deep fried foods. Most of the time I don't eat carbs after, 7, 8 o'clock type deal. I stay away from the fattening stuff, once in a while I have a couple days off or whatever, and I just, eat what I want or whatever. But usually I try to eat as clean as possible and just stay in shape as long as I can.
So kind of moving forward, what's coming up for you in the future? What's
just this fight stuff, working on that full time right now. So, everything's going well with it. I've been really pushing it for the last 2 weeks, and, we got a $80,000 sponsor for one mat, for one of our, 6, 7 sponsors on the mat. And, that's what CBS got on one of their shows, for Elite XE. So, I mean, they got 20 grand for, spot on the mat. I sold 20 grand for spot on the mat. So if I can tie what CBS on primetime is doing,
it's not bad at all.
Everybody likes the business model. It's a little bit different than what, CBS, and what everybody else is doing. So, we'll see what happens.
Anytime you want to come back, Instructional Fitness, we'd love to have you,
Cool.
Especially with the kids now out there. They are always looking, for a role model. I mean, there's a lot of parents that work full time, or a lot of, single mom or dads, and they always need somebody, to look up to.
Yep.
And especially with you, like I said, at a young age to already be where you're at, man, that's something very, commendable and respectful. So if there's any way, we can help you out here, we'd love to have you to see kind of your progress as things are going towards, your next match and everything, and
Sure.
watch you take first place again.
Cool.
While I'm sitting in the audience saying I should have been there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Definitely.